We on the night, boom, gamp, boom, boom. I'm getting used to this theme song. I'm telling you, it's corny, but the Impact Wrestling theme song is starting to like get its hooks into me. Impact Wrestling is Tuesday nights on AXS TV, so that means Wednesdays we talk about Impact, and Wednesday nights we'll talk about AEW and NXT. We are spoiled. Despite the pandemic, wrestling is still rolling out content night after night, and us here at WrestleZone have it covered for you. All the results, all the breaking news, and of course, all the chitter chatter about the Slam and Suplex going down. I'm Kev Kellam. Joining me is the managing editor, the boss man, not from Cobb County, Georgia, but no, he's from, I believe, the central mid-Atlantic area, Mr. Bill Pritchard, and down in Tampa, Florida, throwing a temper tantrum, because he's just always doing it. He's always wound up. Mr. Robert DeFelice. He's very, very angry about what's going on with the Tropicana Dome. And are they just going to move in here? Are they calling it the Thunderdome? Or is WWE moving back to the Thunderdome? Is it the Thunderdome again? They can't call it that. Is it the Tropicana Thunderdome? Does WWE have an orange juice sponsorship? How Florida can they get? That's the whole conversation.
Well, before we get to the Thunderdome, we are in the Impact Zone. And yeah, you know what?
What is Robert DeFelice doing in the Impact Zone?
Before we even talk about Impact, I want to say, banger Turning Point show. Great pay-per-view on Impact Plus. Very good stuff.
The whole thing's on YouTube right now.
Yeah,
I was shocked that they go that route. I mean, it is an Impact
too.
Bill, you got to catch the show. I've seen bits and pieces of it. What did you think of Turning Point?
Going into it, I was pretty excited about it just because I said last week that, it seemed like a bigger show than Bound for Glory was.
Yeah, which is surprising, and not to say they didn't try with Bound for Glory. This just like on paper felt like a much cooler show.
This is the hope. They're putting more into the Impact Plus app, kind of like how WWE migrated to, WWE Network, and obviously all of their pay-per-views are there. So I would hope that Impact is going to do more title changes, have more meaningful content, because those app exclusive events, like especially in the past 2 years, like they were very skippable. And the one with the cell phone video, that's what people were talking about. So I think the Nashville tapings helped them, but then, getting back on track with Deanna winning and the Good Brothers winning, you're at least seeing the story progress instead of it being treated like a house show. And I think if you change the perspective and maybe condition fans to think that something big can happen, they're going to see bigger numbers for themselves.
We have this every week because some people simply just don't get access on their cable system. DJ Cassier is saying Impact needs to make a TV deal with a channel that everyone has. Aggravates me that AXS TV isn't in my area. Here's the thing: Anthem Entertainment, owners of Impact, own the TV channel AXS TV. So I think that's kind of preparatory. It's they're going to prioritize what they have and put it on their channel. So that's kind of what happens. But yeah, AXS has been pulled or is not on some channel systems. So that is a question I get from some people, but the show does stream on Twitch, so you can't get on Twitch and you can't get on the thing, so don't feel like you're bound by that.
And even still, this is so much better than Pursuit.
Oh man, don't bring me back to the Pursuit days. Wasn't there an episode where they like ran a commercial for like 30 minutes?
They ran a commercial over a whole main event, yeah.
Oh man, that's crazy. This was a momentous episode coming off Turning Point. We have new Impact Tag Team Champions in the Good Brothers. They defeated the North. That was a big thing there. And once again, you can watch this entire show. It's up on YouTube. I know Impact is in that position where they're going to give away more content, and they're going to do a unique distribution where traditional pay-per-view, and then on top of it, Impact Plus, which isn't the same price point as a WWE Network. So they're doing some different things. So good on them. Good Brothers winning the belts, very popular team. They also had their Talking Shop-A-Mania comedy show that they did on Fight TV. So big week for them. Rolling into this, though, a sad ending. Fun match, a tag team match involving Rich Swann, the Impact World Champion, with Trey Miguel against Wentz and the Rascalz here. This is their farewell. This is high-flying action. This is a lot of all-over-the-place stuff. Swann needs to win. He's going to be there. He's going to be there next week. It's the right move. But, Trey and the Rascalz, they're gone. And what's the latest on their future, Bill?
It's kind of the same. The story about the contract offers being out there. They haven't said anything. I don't think they would, like legally or otherwise, but that's kind of what we've been instructed, or
asked to say.
Think, like all of the incoming talent aren't going to say anything, or they're going to deny it. So I think whether it's true or not, we're not going to hear anything until they're in here's the next Performance Center class photo with the t-shirt.
The thing is, if you get the three of them, I think they should bypass the PC. I know
they should go right to TV.
They should go right to TV because you're an established act and an established team, which is something that even NXT is lacking. So I think they go right to TV.
What do you think, Bill? You put these guys right on TV? I mean, I always talk about the framing up for camera. It is the major thing I hear from independent wrestling talent. I hear from people that have wrestled on TV. That is the major gap. If you know how to frame your action as a talent, you know how to frame your promos, you know how to do things in TV time with cues and stuff like that. This is a team that maybe that's what they were doing the entire time they were in Impact. Also, they have time with MLW as well. So these guys have been around the horn. They're fairly young guys who have a lot of experience involved with televised wrestling. If I kind of agree with Robert, I would put this team on NXT now. I would put them on NXT like as quickly as you could get them there. But I understand maybe you just want to figure some things out, or maybe there's a new character we have to do with the Rascalz. How much of the Rascalz do they get to be, reportedly, in WWE?
Well, they let Riddle talk about pot all the time. There was a point early this year where Riddle would just get a derp face whenever anybody mentioned joint manipulation. It was good stuff. I would put him with Riddle. If Riddle wasn't going through the stuff he's going through outside of the ring, I would throw them right with Riddle on Raw. But since he is, I'll put them on NXT.
Wait, so your name is Boss Man, but what's Robert's code name? What's your code name, Robert? What's your Matt Riddle code name? Bill, you hand out code names. What's Robert's Matt Riddle code name?
Let me let that simmer, but I want to go back to the point of putting them on TV to kind of close that up. I think they're going to go right to TV, but they're still going to do the photo op Ross and Timothy Thatcher. They went right to TV and they still did the PC photo, but I don't know how much WWE would do that as far as letting them be the Rascalz.
Yeah, they're gonna have a different name.
Their own spin on it, and they already have Matt Riddle, so why would they do like for Matt Riddle, or I'm sorry, Riddle, no Matt? But
and they when they were done in this match, they put those jackets up on the ropes, and it was kind of like, all right, here we go, we're walking away, and they got beat up later on
about losing their first name, so
yeah, and that's the way with the way WWE is right now. It's a trademark licensing thing, and you see how protective they've got of that with the Twitch and the cameo things, and it's you come into this and you play the role that we're gonna slot for you and stuff like that. Yet at the same time, you bring up that Matt Riddle is Matt Riddle in WWE. I mean, he's not saying nearly as gnarly things he could say in the independent circuit. So I'm interested. I think they're really, really talented guys. I think obviously a lot of people focus on Trey Miguel since he's kind of had the singles things. I'm intrigued where they'll go. I think they could be a great tag team. I think NXT is the spot for them to be in. But I mean, seeing them pop up on Monday Night Raw could be fun too. I think that would be a spot for them to kind of freshen things up. And the main event delivered. What do you think of the direction they went? They got to make Rich Swann look strong here. He's the world champion, right, Rob?
This is still a very dumb thing to me. Like, hey, we're all friends. I know. We'll fight each other. Like, come on.
Yeah, I did have that taste in my mouth. I was like, couldn't you have these guys kind of like go up against maybe one of their like longtime rivals in Impact or something like that?
I just read something about why it went down the way it did, and I think it was Tommy Dreamer had said it on Busted Open, or he said it on his own podcast, but the long and the short of it is they wanted to try and work with Myron Reed because he was one of the original guys, the original guy. And the reply was, okay, well, our audience might not be familiar with him, plus it's MLW, so it might not work. And and then one of them, like somebody threw out Rich Swann's name, and they were like, oh yeah, that makes sense. We'd like to work with him.
Steve Byrne with a question here that popping in about the Rascalz, who once again main evented this week's Impact on AXS TV. Rich Swann tagging with Trey Miguel against Dre and Wentz. And I think it's an interesting question here. Do you think WWE splits up this 3-man group, or do you keep them together as like a New Day type faction? Because I can see a lot of New Day kind of comparisons, bright colors, happy-go-lucky team. I mean, do you want that comparison, another 3-person team? I could see them breaking them up at least a little bit, but for a lot of fans, they're not going to know who these guys are too. We got to understand that there's a lot of people are going to see these guys for the first time if they are indeed heading towards WWE, and all the indications are that they are indeed going there. Would you keep them together as a team?
I would. I mean, that's where the money is right now, and then you separate them over the course of time. I think they all have tremendous upside as singles, but they all wrestle the same. Now, like, I've kind of said this recently. When watching the Hogan era, by the third match, you're sick of the double bicep pose. When watching this era, by the third match, I don't need to see another suicide dive. I don't know.
This is my favorite pose right here. Pose in the sun.
And you do it beautifully. And
thank you.
I don't know if we can see these 3 guys, because do they lose their luster if you separate them?
Nesha Kirsch noting it feels like they didn't want to leave Impact. They were quite emotional. You guys were very, very tearful.
Well, hold on. I imagine that
they
didn't want to leave Impact.
Made jokes about why they're really leaving, about where the contract renewal money is actually going. But I still don't get it. I mean, Anthem has money for all this stuff, all these new wrestlers, and then it's like I saw somebody be like, "Oh yeah, we always talk about keeping the Rascalz in the fold." I'm like, but they're leaving. Like,
well, maybe the Rascalz just felt like it was the time to go. Like, they're young and they want to take advantage of a new opportunity somewhere else. They feel like, all right, hey, we're going to WWE. Let's try this thing, man.
Yeah, big money offer, which I think.
And also, WWE's offering a lot more money to get people to come into the company now than they were 2 years ago, with AEW kind of changing up that market of entry. What's your entry level point in terms of money into the televised wrestling tier? Like that kind of changed a lot of different things. And Bill, you and I have heard that for a while, that those numbers are different, so I would bet that a team like the Rascalz is going for more than they did maybe 2 years ago when Impact got them, so it's an interesting time to be a wrestler in this position. I'll say that, especially now when we're looking at the other side of 2021 when things get rolling.
And I think the pandemic taught us WWE is always going to function at a high level. So, like, they are the safest bet in wrestling. I know that they're the evil empire. We're not supposed to say that, but they are still the ones offering the most money.
You know what also is a safe bet? Impact's going to do some pretty ridiculous things. Sometimes they're fun ridiculous. Sometimes they're just ridiculous. And one of them is a single involving Falaba, the big joyful man, taking on Hernandez over a wad of cash that has been stuffed down someone's pants. We got them in the ring. Pretty solid match for a pretty ridiculous idea. But this is all right. Hernandez went over. Boss splashes him from the top rope. There's a lot of fun things about Hernandez that I just think, like, for a guy his size, he always has worked so fast and so big. And I always like that they have some of those guys that are still tied to that TNA past. And Hernandez is definitely one of those guys. What do you think of this whole angle here involving Hernandez and Falaba?
I just don't really care for it at all. I'm not even trying to be like mean about it, but I never really was a Hernandez fan. Like, I can appreciate how athletic he is, but I was never a fan of him to begin with. I always thought everyone else in LAX was more entertaining. Like, I was more of a fan of them. And just like, I wasn't a fan of Hernandez in 2010. Why am I going to be a fan of him in 2020? Like, nothing. He hasn't changed anything. And I think having Fallah Bah being the guy with the money, like the whole thing with switching the thing in his pocket on was that Bound for Glory?
I think so. Yeah.
It was Tasha Steelz did it.
Yep.
Yes.
So like that stuff's funny and it's helping, but I don't know. Like it just feels like they're trying to make a giant snowball out of like I don't know.
It's a fun, silly segment backstage.
They're trying to make it go longer than it should be.
Yes, it doesn't have the legs to run like this.
Like,
and Fallah Bah, I think, is go ahead.
What
Robert,
is the amount of currency that we're dealing with here?
I think it's like $2,000. Like,
all right, I
don't
mean,
know.
that's better than I thought it was, but I don't know.
It's not like $50.
Yeah. Okay. All right. It's not.
Why are Bill and Robert fighting? Well, Robert took $50 of Bill's money and put it down his pants.
How much money?
It's just not. It's not something I think they should keep going. It's funny, but they got a lot of weird, like, well, who shot Bravo and who stole this wad of cash? And at some point, you just go, you guys got the Good Brothers. You got the hottest free agents coming out of the WWE releases.
I mean, the thing is, they have a lot of guys under contract. You had Tommy Dreamer, who is also in creative, kind of doing this. You brought the Who Shot Johnny Bravo thing. That was like a huge part of the build to Bound for Glory, but kind of was on TV and involved almost everyone on the mid card who wasn't tied into some title program was involved in that angle of Who Shot Johnny Bravo, managing the Twisted Rosemary from another dimension. It was all these crazy things. He got shot at a wedding. It was very ridiculous. It was one of those as ridiculous as they could get. It's one of the more talked about things they've done that isn't tied to someone from WWE jumping over to Impact. So I'll give them that. But we didn't get a whole lot of Who Shot Johnny Bravo mystery stuff tonight as we've gotten in the past few weeks, Bill.
See, on that hand, I feel like they know that has a shelf life, that has an end point. So they're not trying to overdo it. But then with this money thing, it's like, I feel like it's been going on since the pandemic started. And it's just kind of like, I don't really care for it. Like, I like long-term story building, but there's literally no story other than, hey, this guy stole my money this week. This guy stole it this week. It's like, I already.
At some point, you got to spend that money. You know what I mean? Like, I would. Or, why would you be running around with that money in your trunks if you're not just spending it? You know, so like that's what I would do. I don't know how you guys want to steal some.
Put it in a bank or in a 401k.
Be smart. Save your money, guys.
I don't have to worry about getting robbed.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, even if that was the end of it, if somebody just said, "I put it in a 401k, it's done." Okay, well, like, at least that's a smart ending. I just don't know where they can go with this.
It would be funny if the feud ended with someone saying, well, you know what I did? I invested in this company. Like something silly like that.
It's bad energy.
Yes. Knockouts Tag Team Title Tournament. This is the reintroduction of the Knockouts Tag Team titles, the women's tag belts of Impact Wrestling. They announced this a few weeks ago and have really taken their time to get the tournament rolling. Round one, though, tonight with Tennille Dashwood and Alicia Edwards taking on what is seemed to be the favored team in the tournament, Havoc and Nevaeh. Tennille had the opportunity to tag with Jordynne Grace in this tournament and kind of like slighted her more than a few times, and with kind of fellow heelish personality, Alicia Grace. Not too successful. Short, sweet match. Nothing super fantastic. Not the best tag team match I've ever seen. But Havoc and Nevaeh looked really, really strong. I love their kind of wheelbarrow 3D plant finish. And Tennille Dashwood, big star from WWE, but not a ton of momentum, but still has a lot of personality time here in Impact.
I don't think it's mean. It's mean to say that I wouldn't call her a big star from WWE, especially all these years removed. I think she stands the most chance to gain footing outside of WWE. They're doing a fun gimmick, right? She's essentially doing Emelina, right? Where she's like self-absorbed and all about social media. And
it makes you think, was this what Emelina was supposed to be? It was supposed to be like this, like...
It could have been, you know? I like Caleb with a K. I don't get Alicia Edwards. She's doing this weird thing where anytime anybody says anything to her, she just goes, "Oh, they want to be like me." Like, I don't get it. but Havoc and Nevaeh need to face the C-Stars at the end of this tournament. Am I wrong here, Bill?
No, I want to see something like that at the end. Like, I don't know. I mean, I feel like you can pick your favorites with Havoc and Nevaeh, and Tasha and Kiera Hogan seem like they'll be in there at some point, but I feel like, and this is not anyone's fault, like, I'm sure she had more than one reason, but like, Tenille wasn't there for months. Like, I don't know if you guys remember this, but she was only on like a per appearance agreement, and it was like through Bound for Glory last year, like the 2019 one. And then she kind of went away and didn't really come back with any fanfare. It was a surprise. So I feel like any momentum she did have coming off of, you know, WWE Star or whatever, like, she kind of lost it by being away.
Yeah.
And the pandemic hurt it even more. So I like the pairing. I think it's a chance for her to do something more. And if you guys watched the press pass that she did, it was like kind of fun because she was acting more in character than she does most weeks on TV. Like, you know, I have to, like, she signed off and she was like, I'm only contracted for, you know, like an hour to be here. And like, it was funny. Like, I think she's an odd fit to put in a tournament just because, again, like, how many times are you going to do the my partner doesn't work thing?
Yeah, especially in a tournament, that's a go-to thing that they want to do all the time when you're doing these tag tournaments. Anywhere, and I don't mean that just
actually Docs a little bit, but I don't know them as a team,
and
I want to see them treat it respectfully. I don't want
who wins these tag belts in this tournament, Bill?
I think Havoc and Nevaeh, or Jordan and whoever her partner is.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be ODB. So I think that'd be like a cool callback.
That'd be fun. ODB and Jordan Grace would be a fun tag team. That would be really, really cool. I've heard the rumors of ODB coming back for quite some time. Brian Meyers, used to go ahead, Robert. I didn't know you were jumping in.
I'll finish this real quick. The C-Stars should win. If you want to be like, hey, we're still a hot company, we can still, you know, make new stars. They should win, but either way, it's got to be Havoc and Nevaeh. Or
well, you can make a tag team that doesn't. You can make a tag team and get into the finals and stuff like that too.
Yeah, but they do that too much. And with this Jordan Grace thing in particular, the fact that she's like, "Oh, my partner is somebody who's retiring soon." Why would you like? I don't understand. Why were you choosing somebody who's at the tail end of their career, especially when you're in a tag role? And
well, Impact is in that long. They don't have long. They're not able to do that long term stuff.
Well, okay, but I'm not talking about like outside of the ring. I'm talking specifically in character. Why would the character say, you know what, you're at the end of your career, I want to team with you for the long haul?
True, but I mean, if you had an opportunity to wrestle with the Undertaker as your tag team partner and he's only going to do it once or twice, I think you do it because it's the Undertaker, you know?
Well,
I'm curious as to where they're going with it because I don't remember, like, my pick's still going to be ODB. I don't remember her announcing a retirement.
True.
And I heard Lisa Marie Verone, like, she's already retired. She's been retired for about a year. So I don't think it's going to be her.
I don't think it'll be Lisa as well. I remember having a conversation with Lisa, and we got to interview her for WrestleZone. Good up for her. The Grown Ass Woman podcast, the GAW podcast she's doing with Mickey James and Soka. A very entertaining show because you get to see them kind of just pal up, and it's a very different conversation that they have. Go seek it out. It's up on YouTube as well. I don't see her getting back in the ring. I think that
she seems pretty happy.
Yes,
she seemed pretty sure of herself in her decision.
Yeah, I'm not speaking for her. I'm friendly with her. I think she was very, very certain of her position, and she's proud of what she did in the ring. I think she'll definitely still do appearances and stuff like that. Maybe she would come back for an appearance and do something physical in the ring. I could see her maybe wanting to do that. I don't see her wanting to get in the ring and wrestle again and stuff like that. There was some injuries she dealt with in the last years that she was kind of like, this is enough for me. This question, Michael Off, bring this up. Zelina Vega, who had time in Impact Wrestling before, is obviously done with WWE. She'd be a good feud with Deanna. Well, here's the thing. You're not going to see it because you have those 90-day no-compete clauses. So you're not,
She's sidelined till February, and Zelina, Kylie Ray, and Tessa Blanchard were the other names that I saw mentioned too.
Mhm.
So I'll just kind of sum that up really quick. Zelina's sidelined until February. She has a non-compete.
Yeah, you wouldn't even be able to do that within the tournament. Yeah.
I don't know why somebody would even think that. Like, she already said she's retired. She clearly has a lot more going on than just, I don't want to be a wrestler anymore. So just
leave Kylie.
Yeah, like,
let
that go. Like, I'm sure that's adding more stress if somebody's reading or telling her that. But and then Tessa Blanchard, like, not gonna happen.
Not gonna happen.
No.
Not under the circumstances that she left the company. Is that gonna happen?
So somebody had mentioned to us Gail Kim, and I think smart money says Gail Kim, because Gail Kim is the female agent for Impact, and she could always come back, and it's always a major pop for them because she's like the women's wrestler from TNA.
Who would be that mystery partner for Jordan Grace in this tournament? They are kind of teasing some big return. James Espanto. Fernando Taguay says Awesome Kong. We haven't seen much of her.
She is happily employed by AEW. She is a producer. She'll never go back to Impact again. I do hope she does wind up in the ring in some form, but
yeah, we haven't seen her in the ring in Elite in over a year. It feels like, maybe, right?
I mean, I originally thought she took time off for Glow, but then that got canceled. So I don't.
Well, she did. It was Glow combined with injuries, and I believe the last thing she did. And I'm not even doing a bit, but I think the last thing she did was cut Sean Ross Sapp's hair. Legitimately.
You're right. I think you're right. You're always trying to get look at him, Bill. Look at this. See this?
What can I say?
This is why I think we got to get. I'm not saying we got to spend more money on Mr. DeFelice here, but he comes in. I say no Fightful plugs. He works for this other website. He works for a competitor. I say no plugs until the end, and he finds a way to get his shit in, doesn't he? He finds a way to do it, Bill. All right. I think we got to have a discussion. All right. Listen, you're with Fightful on the weekends. All right. Daddy WrestleZone has full-time custody weekdays. All right, we drive you to soccer practice, kid. All right, so remember that.
So what you're saying is I have to grow my hair really long, hope live events pick up, and Robert will start mentioning me everywhere else.
Yeah,
come on, Bill, grow the ponytail out. By the time we get to WrestleMania, everyone gets a vaccine. We'll do the big fundraiser. We'll steal the Fightful gimmick. Come on, all right, we'll make that thing work. Back to Impact Wrestling. We're talking about Impact Wrestling. Brian Meyers came over from WWE quite a few months ago with a new character, happy-go-lucky guy in WWE, doing the action figure thing. They even brought it up here on this match he had with Crazy Steve. He's so crazy he has to have two Z's. This is one of my favorite matches on the show. Brian Meyers, his heel turn at first wasn't really clicking for me. But I mean, it's starting to streamline in the matches with Tommy Dreamer, with Hornswoggle, people that he was friendly with before. He's now starting to hit this different lane in the way he wrestles, the way he finishes things. The suplexes are mean. The mission holds are mean. The look of the gear, kind of the black and the silver, made it look really cool, getting rid of the bright colors. I think there's a future for Brian Meyers, and I think long-term they can build him into a new dangerous villain. He's not there yet, but I can see it on the other side. And a big win here over Crazy Steve.
I didn't really like the way that he came in, because it was like the most professional wrestler seemed like it was going to be a comedy gimmick. And I like that he's moving away from it a little bit, just because, like, I think the stuff with Hornswoggle or Swoggle really resonated.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it's that was always the plan. I don't know if they're changing direction, but I feel like anytime there's the newcomers attack Tommy Dreamer, it's like, I've seen it before. I've even seen
he's the gatekeeper. Yeah.
I liked that a lot more. And that's not a knock on Tommy. Like, anytime you see him live or on TV, you like kind of still pop when you hear his theme song, and he throws out his arms and yells ECW. Like, I still like seeing Tommy Dreamer. It's just this whole I'm gonna kill the spirit of extreme wrestling is like there's no new thing that you're doing to it to make that grab my attention.
And it's a moot point in 2020 because Extreme Wrestling has come full circle and is now the hot thing again. And I like Meyers a lot. I'm not going to lie. Meyers is one of my favorite guys. He's so good in the ring. I hope he gets like a world title run or an X title run or whatever it is. But yeah, I want to see him get in there with somebody who's like a worthy rival. Because Crazy Steve, he's good, but I can't see this being a long-term thing. Swoggle's fun, but as much as he wants to be more, he's always going to be seen as Hornswoggle and biting people on the ass. And Dreamer, like Bill said, how many times are we going to see Tommy Dreamer come in, hit somebody with a trash can, and hit like 50 DDTs? Like, after a while, you don't need to see it anymore.
Good point.
One thing that I think would be really cool, like you kind of alluded to it, but I think Meyers being in the X division might kind of be cool, kind of like how Drew Gulak is to 205 Live.
He kind of grounds it, and he became
I think going off of the most professional wrestler thing, like they could kind of go that route and maybe like a little bit of like the pure rules from Ring of Honor, but without calling it that. Like I think there's a lot you can do with him. It's just I'm more interested in what he's been doing the past few weeks instead of when he first arrived.
We had some very weird stuff here with Suicide. So we had Suicide versus Geo. They lock up, but this is really just a setup for the new Joe Doring to appear in Impact Wrestling along with Eric Young. They level both these guys. We had Joe Doring introduced with Eric Young, the world-class maniac. And he says, I've done. I know what you've done, and I see the truth now. This world doesn't belong to you. It belongs to us. Eric Young with that injured voice. I always like the way that Eric Young sounds when he cuts a promo. What do you think of Eric Young and this new tandem he has with Joe?
He needs body hair. Eric Young's look really creeps me out.
Of all the things to bring up, Robert, of all the things to bring up.
It's really creepy. I mean, it's working for what he's doing, but it creeps me out. I like Eric Young. I like Joe Doring. These two guys are almost like way too high of a level for the stage that Impact is in right now. My hope is that they elevate the game of the entire promotion because these two are legit.
Joe Doring been in the business a long time, and
am I like the only person that doesn't really know who he is? Because I know you and Tyler were like, "Oh man, that like Joe Doring."
He's an All Japan guy, and like he's one of those guys who's been a big deal in Japan outside of New Japan for a while. So
and he's a guy who's also a journeyman. He did Puerto Rico. He did Impact before. He did it in the mid 2000s, and I mean, he's definitely a journeyman, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that this guy had some time in WWE, did the developmental deal, but most of his career is All Japan. You're right.
And he just looks like a wrestler.
Yes.
You know what I mean? This dude looks so
in the right way.
Yes. Very crazy in the right way.
Yes, he is 6'5" too. You get a 6'5" guy who can work that style. Also, they don't have a lot of tall, lean guys with his type of look in Impact. Not to say they don't have big guys, they do. But he has that. He has that. Go ahead, Bill. I'm sorry.
He kind of reminds me of Big Cass.
Yeah. That's exactly the exact profile photo he's going for. I wonder if these guys are maybe set up as a tag team down the line. Speaking of big men, there are a few in Impact, and I think one that still stands out. He's kind of rolling off the Bound for Glory win over EC3, who's now over in Ring of Honor. Jumping around there. We had Moose versus Willie Mack. This was one of my favorite matches of the night. This was brutal. This was mean. Willie Mack getting thrown head over feet into that guardrail that has no one behind it. Why even have a guardrail? Who does it keep out of the ring? Why do they have guardrails?
Because you gotta bump off the damn thing, man.
Exactly. But when I saw him getting thrown into it, it was one of those things that was like, why even have it there? It doesn't keep anyone out of the ring. You don't even need it. But it does remind you this is a wrestling show. We would have fans here if we could. This is brutal. Moose showed off some things I've seen him do in the ring when I've seen him wrestle live. We've been doing a lot of personality stuff. The EC3 matches were brawling. The stuff they did to set up this match, Willie Mack, he just kept attacking him backstage. You can do some physicality there, but it's backstage. You're working on cement. Maybe you don't want to do it. I don't think when Moose, when he attacks someone outside of the ring, it does as much. I think he's an athlete. I think he's a guy who needs to be on the field. He came from football. He needs to be in the ring. He looked great in this match. Such a tall, big guy doing drop kicks, doing spears. He reminded me of like a more graceful Baron Corbin in a way, in terms of the way he moved, and he has that football footwork and stuff like that. I like this. I dig it. I think Moose is a guy that Impact fans know, and you can always protect this guy and do something big with him. I don't think Willie Mack loses a whole lot losing here. Sometimes people have to lose for you to care about them in big matches, and I kind of got that feeling here. I was rooting for Willie Mack to win, but the whole time I was like, Moose is their Brock Lesnar. He's going to mow this guy down. Every time he tries to come back with something, Moose drills him down. Bill, what do you think of Moose versus Willie Mack?
I'm actually surprised it got as much time as it did.
Yeah, they got a lot of time here.
Expecting that for an opener, and I agree with you as far as keeping Moose in the ring. I don't really think he's that good of a promo, and he gets a lot. He's
an okay promo. He definitely needs a mouthpiece. Yeah,
I feel like I always look for this like silent ass kicker sort of character, and I think he could fit that bill. I think it actually would have been like a better follow through to, you know, the whole thing with EC3 about controlling your narrative, and like I feel like all he did was literally put on a suit. Like I didn't really enjoy the payoff to that, so I feel like giving him longer matches, having him not say as much, I think is going to help him in the long run. Like I don't know.
No, and it's almost Brock Lesnar-esque where, you know, Brock could say some things, but shouldn't say a whole lot, you know, like that is the one weak spot with him, I think. I mean, not to say he doesn't have personality to some degree. Robert?
Here's the deal. Moose has been in this company for 5 years. And I know that's probably shocking to some, but he's been hovering in this main event scene for like forever. I mean, why have they not strapped the rocket to him when he's been the loyal guy? Let's go through their history of their most recent champions. You had Aries, you had Morrison, Brian Cage, Sami Callihan, and Tessa Blanchard. And of all those people, it's like Moose has been hovering in that spot. He should be the legit world champion. Now, I hope that he's the TNA world champion. Yeah. And I know that they had this huge thing planned for Mania Week, and it fell by the wayside, but they kept the belt for some reason. I hope that Hard to Kill is Moose Swan, and Swan takes the fall for Moose.
And that's a great match because, I mean, they gave Moose a definitive win here. He knocked out Willie Mack, and he kept pounding on him. I love Brock Lesnar. I keep making this Brock Lesnar like a comparison of just like this very legit monster, high-paid monster. And I just felt that the whole time. I got a lot of Brock Lesnar vibes. The explosive offense, how unrelenting he was, his real athletic background as a football player. I felt all those things. Kyle Preblo texting in saying, Moose is so talented, deserves to be world champion. So some people feeling it. This is a pretty strong episode of Impact. I thought Turning Point was a big show for them. I was surprised by not a heavy presence involving the Good Brothers, since they were the big talking point coming out of that show. Not as much Johnny Bravo ridiculousness, but pretty centered, and the show was really built on the Rascalz being sent off. This is a thumbs up show, giving this a solid 7 out of 10. What do you give it, Bill? 1 to 10. That's our scale. 1 to 10. 1 being we get the vaccine now, 10 being wow, we have to wait a long, long time.
You flip that.
I'm not taking it either way, but I give it a 7.
You give it a 7? You're right there. I got to flip it. You're right.
Well, coming off of what Nia Jax just said.
Are we getting triple sevens? We're getting triple sevens?
I will say triple seven as well.
System.
Triple sevens. Ding, 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 ding.
All right. What do we win?
Nothing. You win nothing. What is that line from Willy Wonka? You get nothing.
You guys are the Batman and Robin of wrestling media. What the hell am I?
You're Commissioner Gordon. You're Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah, Gordon's better than Alfred.
I want to be Gary Oldman, though. I want to be 90s Keaton Batman.
I don't want to be 1960s Batman Commissioner Gordon. I want to be Gary Oldman Gordon.
We're going to eventually transition this whole website into a Batman thing. It'll be great.
This is the second time this week that maybe we should do a Batman podcast.
What was the Batman thing we got into? This is
just in the chat. We're just always talking Batman.
We should do a Batman show.
Batman's great. But you know what else is great is Impact Wrestling, and like that, man, they never die. So
no, they never die. They never die.
Did a Joker gimmick.
Yeah.
Fans texted in. Victor gives it a 7.5. He's watching the show. DJ was not a fan. He gives it a 4. He was not into it. So if you're watching on demand or you're listening to the podcast feed, go ahead and do that. Subscribe. WrestleZone available. Look for that big WZ logo. You've noticed since 1997, late 90s. Been with you. I remember Robert and I sharing stories of stealing some computer time during high school days to go and read the WrestleZone news on Tuesdays to find out what happened on Monday Raw because I was watching Nitro. All that ridiculousness. But no, we've been with you a long time. Go check out the podcast feed. Just dropped an interview, Bill, you did with the Young Bucks about their brand new book. Tell me about this interview. You got some scoops in here. Them talking about Shaquille O'Neal backstage.
Yeah, the new book came out yesterday, so we dropped the interview yesterday. Talked a little bit about where the inspiration came from, why it was the right time, sharing it with some of their mentors. I know Mick Foley was, kind of an early influence on getting that project started. And then we talked about their match with Top Flight tonight and why the graphic came out last week that wasn't supposed to. Nick says, why the graphic came out and why they knew the match wasn't going to happen until this week. And then, they talk about Shaq, just him potentially being involved in AEW TV and what kind of influence he has as a media personality, bringing in a fresh set of eyes, a different kind of audience for AEW on TNT that might not be there right now.
I think it's a big get for them to get Shaq. He's still a very, very popular guy. The synergy with the NBA branding and Shaq, who's so intertwined with that now for generations of people, and they probably think of him as a bigger star than some guys that are playing the game right now. I mean, there's a short list of people in the game of basketball that are very popular, but he has that level of popularity, of like, you talk about retired athletes right now in the United States, you probably think of like maybe 10 or 20. He's not in that like 10 to 20 range. He's in that top 5 range of very, very popular athletes who are not actively competing, that are still in media. He's doing all those ads. He's doing those, he's Papa John's Pizza. What else has he got, Robert? He's got Papa John's Pizza. He's got the General.
Got like the General. He's got is it Gold Bond or is it Icy Hot?
Yeah, he did Gold Bond, Icy Hot. He did an Icy Hot spot. He does all these commercials. So you're seeing him on TV a lot. And so I think this is a very, very big move business-wise for AEW to say, look what we're doing with someone who's very licensed and very branded.
Well, Cody Rhodes did say, and he was on Restricted Podcast, that that's their plan for year 2. They're going to move into things that casual fans can grasp onto.
Video games, products you can buy at a store, different things like that. And that is where you start to build this thing out. And you're starting to see it when they're working with celebrities like a Mike Tyson or they've talked to other different people they want to have on the show. They had Kevin Smith on the show early on. So, and it just makes complete sense. Quite the coup for them to get, because WWE was trying to get Shaq in the ring for a real one-on-one match for Big Show for many, many years, and the time is kind of come and gone on that. And they did get him in at WrestleMania, but it was unadvertised and really last minute from what we know. If they get it, it's him versus Cody. Can it be a super special thing? Do you save it for pay-per-view? Do you do it on free TV to try and pop a rating? Where do you go with this, Bill?
I don't really know that I even want to see the match. Like, I don't really want to see Shaq wrestle. I'll let AEW, try and hook me on it. I didn't really want to see him face Big Show. But I think, the whole Shaq in wrestling, there's something to it. I'd rather see like Tyson, because he's a fighter. So I
Tyson's
think that
fighting. Is he fighting this weekend? He's gonna have that one-off Mike Tyson he's fighting Roy Jones Jr. And they're doing this like kind of exhibit. It's not a full-fledged fight though, which is kind of weird.
I don't know, but I mean, I'll give AEW the chance to like hook me on it. I don't think it's going to be like a crazy athletic match. I think it's going to be more spectacle. Like, I don't know.
It's going to be an unsanctioned fight, so they don't have to be bound by actually having a match or something like that.
Something. I mean,
or they hide him in a tag team. You know, they hide him in a big tag team match or something like that.
I think it would be better off the way WCW kind of brought in like Karl Malone and with DDP.
Shaq did a spot in WCW, like when he was with the Magic.
Like, not hiding him, but just having a few of those Sports Center, like the highlights, and then mix that in with like an actual tag team match. I think would be my preference. Yeah. But I'll give him the chance to sell me on it.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't imagine Cody versus Shaq being a barn burner, and they're oddly bringing Shaq in as a heel, which is very weird because you have Shaq.
He's so lovable. He's Shaq.
So Cody versus Shaq with the women on the outside, Brandy and Jake get into it.
He's right. They've did this with Cody before. You bring this up, Robert. You remind me of this. They've done this with Cody a handful of times in AEW already, where it's Cody with Brandy, Cody with Arn Anderson, Cody with like the Nightmare Collective. They're going to have all those different people at ringside to kind of cover up whatever else is going on in the match, to hide whatever weaknesses or limitations Shaq has as a non-wrestler but athlete. He can do a handful of things, and Cody's going to get slammed by by Shaq a handful of times. Maybe a big, it'll be a big fun schmoz. I think that's what they're going for. Maybe it won't be fun for some people watching or purists, but that's the way they're doing it. That's what's going on. We will be live tonight after AEW and NXT, so make sure your notifications are on YouTube. You want to like, subscribe, ding, ring the bell. Over on Facebook, you have to like us. Then you have to follow. Have you seen this, Bill? This annoys me quite a bit with our Facebook. You have to follow it to get the notifications as well. So a lot of content for you to devour at WrestleZone. Do we have another big interview coming this week? Am I correct? I don't want to miss it.
MSL from MLW. That's actually going live after we sign off here.
Yeah. So
and then I might have another one Friday.
Someone brought this up to me, Bill, that we have a Patreon's worth of content that we don't charge for. So if you're catching this show and you're not listening to what we did earlier this week, we got a Raw Post show. We got these exclusive interviews. We have interviews from years gone by, all for free. Chris Jericho, Seth Rollins, all this stuff for free. Free 99, baby. So go check it out. You can also check me out on air on 101 WKQX this weekend. Just announced this. Everyone's doing everything from home. We're now doing the Nights We Stole Christmas. This used to be our big residency at the Aragon Ballroom, all this fun stuff. We're doing it December 23rd with Glass Animals, Cold War Kids, and Wallows, also special guests. That tickets go on sale for that, for you to stream that event for Festivus for the rest of us, starting this Friday. All the info at 101WKQX.com. Robert, I do alternative rock. How do you rock? Do you rock?
I do rock.
What's up, Doc? That's a Shaq rap reference.
It's typically alternative rock for me, but when I'm not just listening to whatever the Foo Fighters are putting out, I am overdoing a bunch of wrestling stuff. So obviously I'm here at WrestleZone Tuesday through Friday. I do the post shows Tuesday and Thursday and sometimes Monday. And I'm over on Smart Guy Moment Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays following the pay-per-view. And of course I do Fightful Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And there is nothing wrong with websites that use Patreons.
See this? See this, Bill? No loyalty. You know?
No. I've said this to both of you many times.
This is the kid of a divorced family. No shot at anyone who's in a divorced family. God bless you. All right. This is him playing us for 2 Christmases. That's what he's doing.
I've said this many times. I am loyal to one thing, and that is money, and that's how I roll.
Old DiBiase DeFelice at it again.
Enjoy wrestling.
That's a good name.
What'd you say, Bill? Get your stuff in. What'd you say?
That's a code name.
That's your code name, DiBiase.
There you go.
That's your code name. We got a code name, DiBiase DeFelice.
I'm good with it.
All right, guys. We'll see you later tonight.
Later.